Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Last Best Hope for Conversation, your Babylon 5 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jesse Jackson. Joining me, as always, is Lou.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And we are talking Objects at Rest, the 21st episode of Season 5, originally aired November 18th, 1998. The next to last episode, though the last episode filmed in a very timey-wimey way. I have mixed feelings about this one.
Well, I kind of think of this episode as the last episode, the finale, because I have in my head, and I haven't watched it yet, but I have in my head that the last episode was filmed a year earlier
That
than
is
that.
correct.
I'm hoping it ties in with stuff, but I know there's going to be things that are old in it. I tend to think of the next episode as kind of a movie that was filmed
Okay,
separately, even though it's short. But anyway,
that's an interesting thought.
I enjoyed this episode. I thought that the themes were good. So,
By the way, when the notes JMS gave to the director, John Copeland, was make him cry.
Yeah, this episode is kind of like when your mom or your grandmother makes your favorite meal, but they accidentally spill too much salt.
oh,
Oh, I love that. I love that kind of metaphor. So I I kind of made some notes chronologically. So, but this does feel like a final episode because we get a lot of goodbyes. Joe Stravinsky has always said he did not want to make a franchise. He wanted to tell this 5-year story. Anytime he's gone back to the Babylon universe, it was to do a new story because other people have reached out to him to try to reboot the universe and it just hasn't worked out in the past. But it felt like they were setting up season 6
so
of
good.
Babylon 5.
Like set in a new universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And what I big fan of West Wing and season 7 when they Jed Bartlett is leaving and they've set up a new administration, you actually could see, hey, if they wanted to do season 8 with a new cast member, they could.
Mhm.
So we start out with Talon is the new Narn ambassador.
Yeah, I loved how he broke in to Jakar's quarters. I mean, Jakar knew that he would do that, right?
Right.
Because why else would he leave the message? And I thought the message was poignant and it showed the reverence that Jakar has for his people, that he's going to leave and let someone else take over, where, I don't know, someone else might revel in the attention that he's getting. So I thought that was really good. And Talon, he accepts the offer without hesitation, but you can tell he's sad that he didn't get to talk to Jakar before he left. So I thought it
Yeah.
was a nice scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, Jakar gets some wonderful dialogue to read off. The writing for his character the last couple episodes has been pretty well poetic in every instance. And again, him describing the situation with himself and the Narn people and the role that he has been playing and the role that Talon is going to play is more of a soldier, and that's kind of what the Narn people need right now. And just really beautifully eloquated, and yeah, I just like the dialogue that Jakar has been given the last couple episodes. So quite well done.
Yeah, we did not mention that and one of the things on Lurker's Guide, they had said that who did Jakar leave the message for, and we get the answer this time. Yeah, I thought it was really well done. That and in the line where you may not think you're ready, but go look at the tapes of how I was, when I first came here, and it's mentioned in our feedback, and we've talked about it often. So don't want to sound like a stuck clock, but no way you would have seen this journey when you look at the first season where Jakar was. There's no way you've seen this going. At least I,
Right,
I don't
right.
think anyone could have. And I think that's really lovely.
But it makes sense.
Oh yeah, it did.
Predict it, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So Dr. Dobbs that we have seen in the past, Franklin tells her, "Hey, I'm recommending you to be the new head of the chief medical officer, right? Whatever they call it here." And I thought that was an interesting discussion about, well, there's other people, and he goes, "Yeah, this one here, but we need a generalist. We need someone who's a little bit good of everything." And if we've seen, she has pushed back on him
Hmm.
again. Um, Once again, my nitpick, and there are many nitpicks in this season, is I wish we had spent more time with her, right? Talon, it feels like we got a little bit, and so we
Yeah.
knew him a little bit more, would always like him more because he's such a good character, but we didn't get much of her. But it makes sense that he's moving someone on. He does exactly what John wanted to do. Just leave with no fanfare. Just he told everyone their goodbyes before, and he just does I think they call it the Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Franklin leaving and our new head of medical?
Yeah, I agree with all your points, like, especially with the head of medical.
Yeah,
Again, the show does the telling instead of showing. Could have taken a couple of beats here and there. Of course, you have to have these actors available throughout the season,
yeah,
which is logistically probably a budgetary and
yeah,
scheduling issue. That would be easier to do in today's TV landscape. I think if you're only doing like 10 episodes, you could carry that like a minor recurring character a lot easier than when you're doing it
yeah,
over 22 episodes. So still, it would have been a little more meaningful. From the second that John said that he wanted to leave quietly, you knew that wasn't going to happen.
yeah,
So that was no big surprise. What was a surprise is that he let Delenn do the speech instead of himself. So I thought that was a nice touch, a nice twist, actually. I was just half expecting him to still talk after she had been done, but
hmm,
she did a great speech, and her remark that there's no such word in Minbar as goodbye seems awfully strange to me, but I guess their spirituality, I guess they're sort of more into reincarnation. I think the only thing I would have liked maybe there is that she would have expressed what she thought of the concept of goodbye a little more,
uh,
because it's something that she's come to, if not understand, at least acknowledge. In general, her speech was kind of about the whole concept of goodbye. I wouldn't have minded if she had gone a little deeper into that. That's a small quibble, and that might have made the speech drag down a bit too. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. That was a nice scene for sure.
yeah.
No, I thought you were going to say something.
I was getting my thoughts.
Okay. I also enjoyed that little. I'd like to think that she is implying that she understands goodbye because she has lived through it a little bit, or at
Yeah,
least she gets the concept of it, especially with like Sinclair. Like after that time travel episode, she knew she would never see him again.
yeah,
She's already past the veiling of her life, and she already knows what's going to happen. That's just one example. There's other people that she's had to say goodbye to
yeah,
permanently. Um, while in Minbari, they say, until we meet again, she
yeah,
does understand the concept of goodbye now. And that was kind of a poignant thing, I thought. I like that he stepped back and let her talk to them.
hmm,
I feel like she's had more interaction with the people on the station because he's like this president or captain or
yeah.
whatever, and he doesn't really deal with the population on Babylon 5. So that was cool. But yeah, that was bittersweet.
One of the things that I was thinking of is you'll often hear in a wedding that there are three words for love in the Greek language. And there's, so that's, I thought of that the idea of they don't have a word that directly translates to goodbye. And the closest they have is, we'll see you again. I was a little sad for Franklin not having anyone, kind of see him, but, he gets what he wants. And then I also liked the idea that John kind of said, hey, you do the talking, Delenn, and he was, kind of letting her share. So I thought it was a really lovely and
Um,
yes.
I appreciated the little hint that Texas gave us in the last email about Zach
Mhm.
saying he'll be there to turn the lights off.
Yes.
So that was cute. I thought I dig Zach. So
I thought that was nice about Zach saying, hey, I think I'm going to be here forever. And it made John happy that someone from the old gang is going to be there. I remember reading this once, and I don't think it's spoilers now, that of everyone, it appears that Michael gets the best happy ending. And I think that's really
sorry.
good as that character.
That made me chuckle.
Yes, that character has gone through so much. The idea of getting, and I've shared this many times in many situations, the line from Sports Night I feel is brilliant, where Robert Gagone says, if you're dumb, you surround yourself with smart people. If you're smart, you surround yourself with smart people who
Smarter
disagree with
people.
you.
Yep.
Yeah. And I like the idea that Michael gets the troublemakers, says, your job is to tell me when we're screwing up. Your
Hmm.
job's to fight me every way. If you're right, you get a bonus. If you're not, I'm going to eat your lunch. But I've doubled your salary with the benefits, and now then let's go fix this company.
Yeah, I think that is a good strategy and also solves a lot of problems. Number one, they won't be sand in the you know what anymore. They'll be making their own policies and setting their own goals. And number two, they will be pretty loyal to Michael going forward because
Yes.
he has shown that he has confidence in them, which is, I think, one of the most important things that a manager can do with his
Yeah.
staff is show confidence in them. Forcing
Yeah.
people to do better through positive affirmations is really incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and it makes it, you have to fire less people, to be honest.
That's always tough.
Yes, it was very tough, but I made sure to let them know that when I spoke to them harshly, I wasn't their friend right then. I only had to do it a couple of times, and that I feel like I did a good job there. So, and again, I'm getting off topic, but I do feel like he gets that.
Yeah.
He understands the situation. He had to clean house, and the best way to set things up is to get people who thought independently.
Yeah.
And uh, it really made a lot of sense to me, and it made me feel good about Michael's position now.
Yeah. Lou, as our favorite, how do you feel about him where he's ended?
I think that for his arc and for the character, that scene made total, was perfect for that situation. However, in my real world experience, people that are complainers in the at least in the businesses that I dealt with
Yeah.
were also the most unproductive.
Yeah.
So, and the most, how would you say it, rigid and
Mhm.
inflexible. So I have a hard time believing that they're going to do a good job as board members because those type of people just are. Some people just like to complain, you know. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's work or home life or whatever. Some people just are, the only time they're happy is when they're unhappy. So from a realistic point of view, I had a hard time buying that. But from Garibaldi's arc and the way he's carried himself throughout the series, I thought it was a fitting ending. But I was kind of like, okay, because it's Garibaldi, I'll go along with it.
I kind of
Yeah.
like to think that,
So
yeah, I
we have to
know.
project. So I can
I
only go
know.
with
Yeah.
what's on the screen, and
Yeah, I
it
get you.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
If it,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to split the difference between you is that he is giving them the chance
Mm.
to put your money where your mouth is. You've said that, I know what's going on and these people don't know their butt from a hole in the ground. If I was running things, things would be so much better. All right, let's
Show
do it.
me. Yeah.
Show me. You know, if they deliver, he'll be thrilled. And if they don't, he'll kick them to the curb quickly.
And he didn't
So,
lose
yeah, because the board before was just,
corrupt
yeah, corrupt.
that way. Maybe not corrupt, but
Yeah,
not doing things the correct way.
yeah. I think you're a very valid point, Lou. But once again, right, this is fiction and how we wish it would be.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's good. We get a really lovely scene when John is kind of recording something for his child
Mm.
that we see, Garibaldi going through the reports, enjoying the cigar, and you see Elise's arm touching him on the shoulder, like, hey, come to bed. And he seems to be happy. And that makes me happy because if anyone deserves happiness, it's him.
Nice that they actually acknowledge it and give him this ending
Yes, I
instead of
agree.
glossing over things.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, what did you think of the scene where John Delenn say goodbye and he asks to kind of to that Kirk moment in Star Trek the Motion Picture where they review the Enterprise, they kind of go off and we
Yeah.
see the new staff and Lockley salutes him and John salutes back and I got a little emotional. I think the
Yeah.
music helped to build that. Any
Yeah.
thoughts, Karen?
And I liked his conversation with Lockley as well. It
Me too.
showed, I know they were married before, but it showed that they have respect for each other and that he was happy he appointed her because
Yeah.
she had the chops,
Yeah.
not just because they were friends.
And once again, I think that if if you were rewriting this, she would have had more to do in the last
Right.
season.
Yeah.
I think Tracy Scoggins showed that she had the chops to do more,
Yeah.
and it would have been, I think, would have served her better. I think we all talked about where has she been at different times and thought she didn't get enough work. Any thoughts about that scene, Lou?
yeah. I thought it was a very nice touch, and the pan across the characters was good, and I really liked the way they shot it when he said, "Okay, let's go," and quickly the ship pulled back and spun away from the station. That felt
Yeah.
really realistic. So again, I have to kind of chuckle that the doctor was there because that's like, who's she?
Right.
I love that Corwin got one last
Yeah,
scene.
Yeah.
and he actually got credit too this time.
Yeah. Lou, I'll start with you. There is mixed emotions about this storyline. Anything you want about him coming back, the coolant leak, everything, and him ultimately, just everything about that storyline. Take it wherever you want, and then I'll get with you, Karen.
Yeah, I'll have to be upfront about it because I accidentally heard an interview with Bill Mummy and he
Hmm.
talked about this scene before I saw it. And I know that
Okay.
he's unhappy with it. And
Yeah.
so that naturally colors my viewing of it. And I can appreciate what JMS was doing here, but there's a problem with long form fiction television because it takes years to get to the conclusion. A lot of these series, if they ever get the chance to even have a conclusion, you've built up a set of expectations from the viewers that certain things will happen and certain things aren't going to happen. And I felt that this strayed into the territory of not ha things that should happen. It's interesting to see a character of Lanier's moral upstanding have a moment of weakness and then to have that decision permanently taint the rest of his life going forward in a book, it's a lot harder to swallow
Yeah.
because it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth for one of the few characters that was pretty consistently good throughout the series.
Yeah.
And I think the best way I would have liked to see the scene play out is he had that moment where he didn't press the button, but then he walked away, but then he came back and he did press the button and released him, as opposed to having John breaking the door down. I think that would have been a better way to do it, in my opinion, to show that he had a moment of, weakness, but then he recovered quickly enough, and then he would apologize to John, and then those two characters could come to some sort of a mutual understanding. Because there's scenes where John and Lanier in in the episode, like in the quarters, that was pretty awkward. It's pretty stiff between the two of them. Obviously, don't know how to really talk to each other.
You're welcome. Stay here with us.
I just don't buy that Delenn didn't know that Lanier was in love with her. I just think that's BS, and I don't buy that. I
He,
don't feel bad for Delenn. I think that
yeah,
JMS just didn't write it for me to believe that she didn't know. She had to
yeah.
know.
She knew he had feelings of her, but he didn't know how deep. And I think that's, yeah, I
It's a
don't
bit of
think
a
that's
cop out. I
realistic.
think it's a bit of a cop out. So I, there's issues with the dynamic of how JMS handled the dynamics of the Delenn
Yeah.
Lanier relationship, and it really kind of reared its ugly head in this episode because you
Mhm.
have to believe that Delenn did not know that Lanier was in love with her, and we saw events in the series that prove that otherwise. And John knew too. Like maybe they never openly discussed it, but John knew that Lanier was in love with him, and that's why they were so awkward with one another. For me, this is the blemish on the episode. I didn't like that, and I can fully relate to why Bill Mummy was upset with how that was handled. So
Mhm.
that's where I sit with that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Number one, out of character. And I didn't believe that he could do this kind of thing. Okay.
Okay.
Number two, why did they get on board a ship that Lanier was piloting instead of having a pilot? I saw it coming down Main Street when he first appeared.
Yeah.
He did, I gotta say, Bill Mummy did a good acting job because he
Yeah.
conveyed to me, which we're supposed to know as the audience, right? That something's hinky, that he's back.
Yeah. And,
He did a good
because
job with that. But
I had reminded you guys as well when we were like, what else is there left to see? And I go, do you remember the Day of the Dead, right? And you guys, oh yeah. So there was only one episode left.
I would have been okay with him like meeting them on Minbar and saying, some sort of parting. But this whole thing with Lanier actually, after he's been training as a ranger
Yeah.
and he has all this discipline, was so out of character. And I agree with you, Lou. I thought he was going to go back and hit the button because that would have been in character for him. But him to just stand there and stare at Sheridan behind the glass trying to get out and him, using the bow staff and everything was, I had to roll my eyes at that. Although it did make Bruce Boxleitner look kind of like a badass, right? Because he
Yes.
takes the bow staff and he uses it to break out. But yeah, this is really the only part of this episode that I just disliked.
Hmm.
When I watched it the second time, I fast forwarded through those parts. I felt like the second time I watched it, it was a great episode. If you can take something out of an episode and it's still good, then there's
Yeah.
an issue with that part.
Yeah. It's easy for, we're Monday morning quarterbacking, right?
Mhm.
If he's going to turn heel in wrestling terms, right? He's gone
Mm-hmm.
from babyface to heel,
Yep.
then let him be a heel. If he's going to turn back, let him get there in time. And then John, this would need to happen sooner. And then Delenn going, yes, but he came back. I don't care. When
But he
push
really
came
did.
to shove, he chose to let me die, to
And
let
to
that other
watch,
person die.
right. And
Yeah.
he was watching this happen.
Yeah.
And he might not have been taking delight in it, but he was still standing there watching them. It's,
So I did not care for it at all. And I do like Delenn and John's discussion about, well, yeah, I guess if I believe him, I'm gonna have to believe him, but I don't know.
yeah.
So, all right. the last thing coming up, we have two really left storylines. Londo shows up at the end. Did that surprise you guys at all? And Karen, I'll start with you.
I was glad it happened because it does put a nice little bow on the top of that. And although he apparently went there to plant the the
The
shoulder,
keep,
he did it in a way that he thought, well, maybe they'll never open it. You know, he's hoping that it will never come to pass, but he also said things that I thought were true.
yeah,
And, I'm always your friend, no matter what happens. I'm always your friend. And it was, I thought, very poignant and true to his character, I guess. And also it gave us I feel like he was setting up things with foreshadowing because he wants to talk to them about all this, right? And the fact that they don't have anything was a bitter disappointment to him because he
yeah.
would have wanted to
I,
confide.
I think the idea that he was hoping to get enough to drink to put the keeper to sleep, so he could warn them,
Right,
right?
exactly. And I think it's weird that Delenn sees the a
Yeah,
shimmer of the dude because in the time travel episode, she doesn't have that awareness.
no,
I feel like she doesn't feel like he's doing something because of this keeper or whatever. I did enjoy the fact that he really wanted to talk to them without the keeper present, and that was cool. I had some pity for him because he is not ever going to be alone again.
yeah.
His
In fact, they've
centurions,
done well. We're going to give you an hour.
right, right.
Yeah,
But his centurions are probably still like right outside, and it's not like
yeah,
he can do anything autonomously. So
yeah,
it was sad, and I thought him talking to them was nice, and the things they said to each other was, I felt like it kind of negated all the animosity that he showed them in the last episode, and it gives John a little confidence in him.
and I did think it was very poignant, the idea that I need you to remember, no matter what else happens, this day, that today, that you were my friends, that,
Hmm.
I loved you, and you guys were really the only family I have. And so let's go to you, Lou. Thoughts?
Yeah, it was a sad scene. Do I feel sad for Londo? Not really. Seeing a character I like end up in such a bad place.
Yeah,
But I think that what he's going through is you get what you deserve, or you sow
you
what you
reap what
reap.
sow, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you reap what you sow. So he's basically in a jail sentence, which is where he should be. He should be in a jail. So
yeah,
from that perspective, I did like it. And then, like Karen made the point that he wanted to have a drink, probably to put the keeper out so he could talk more freely.
yeah,
But whatever warm sentiments I might have had for him during that scene, they're all undone by the reveal of what's inside the urn. So
yeah,
uh, it's a very sad storyline, and that's made me feel sad.
Yeah.
yeah. Because you said you do feel like he's a war criminal and he's done absolutely horrible things, but you still feel a little sadness for him.
Sure, I could be sad for him because of who he was before he did the things that he did.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling sad because of what he is now. He lived by the sword, died by the sword. Yep.
I kind of equate it to you
It-
see a bad person in real life who's done something horrible, but you also see the things they lived through when they were younger, like abuse or whatever, and you
hmm,
feel bad that they lived through that, but you cannot condone the actions that they have taken.
We were talking about before the show started. Things like this happen in the real world too. Like we're all dealing with the Neil Gaiman situation. Do those feelings of joy that he brought to you from before time all of a sudden go away? No, they are part of your life experience. That's the same thing with Londo. When he was just a rogue, it was fun to watch. But now that he is what he is, it changes your perspective on him.
yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just curious from JMS's mindset. He's planting these seeds of this keeper, I guess, being used when John and
Yeah.
Delenn's character, son or daughter, is born. He's just sort of leaving a door open or a thread to pick up later on if he does another series or something like that.
So this is after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I did not put this together, but if you go back to the time travel episode where they're in Londo in the future,
Mm-hmm.
Delenn's David is fine.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll have to go back in.
No, when Londo says, I go let you spend your time before because the keeper's still controlling him.
Right.
Right.
And that's when John is confused. And if you watch that episode again, the lens says David is fine.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
I thought the planet was under attack or something like that. Okay.
that's their, yeah.
It's alluding
And
to
this
that.
is similar to Farscape, watching it over again, you catch this. So if you watch that episode again, and that's what tells the answer. It's there, very that yes, it happened, and but they got through okay. David is fine, and that's also what ultimately what happens to Londo, is
Right.
Londo is able to release them, and then afterwards he is killed,
Okay.
Right.
by
I would have liked to see that. And is it going to
yeah.
be in the next episode? I don't know.
No,
The
I
motivation behind that. It's
I
not,
can
so they
tell you
never
that.
show any backstory about why Jakar shows up with the eye patch to kill Londo.
So
Okay.
I
Maybe it's in one of the books.
now the uh, Telepath War, which was a trilogy of books, the Centauri trilogy, which Peter David wrote, which talks about that, the Telepath War and the Centauri, the Telepath War, the books which JMS helped write, does cover these stories, but they're out of print now.
Get them.
Yeah,
Because I
so
have,
have the Centauri collection, the science fiction book club. Is that still a thing?
No, I don't think so.
They put out a collection of all three in one, omnibus. And so I've been thinking about rereading that.
there are book subscription services where you can get a sci-fi box every month.
Yeah. So John can't sleep, and he decides that he brings up the fact that if Lauren is correct, he only has 19 years left to live.
Hmm.
And that means that he won't see his son turn 21. Any thoughts on that? And I want to see if you guys caught what I caught on the shots of the cast members. Lou.
Uh, you kind of threw a little.
Okay, sorry. His message to his unborn child, which we now know is a son.
Yeah, it seemed like the content was good. It just seemed
Yeah.
like it was a weird time for him to be doing that so far before the child is even born. I think that would have be something more that you would do after you had the child been born and you've spent some time with it. So that was because you just landed on this new planet. You've got all these things with the Alliance going on, and that's why I thought he was awake or couldn't sleep because of that. Was he had all these Alliance issues on his mind, and maybe what happened with Lanier as well. So the child thing, while the content was fine and touching, it just seemed a little out of place in that particular moment in time. But it's the show's winding down, so I guess you got to stick it in somewhere. So this is where it went in, and um, it was a good dialogue for Sheridan, so I liked it quite a bit. And having Len come out at the end and close it off for him was, never start a fight, but always finish it was a good way to write out not just John's thoughts about the child, but the relationship that John and Delenn have shared over the arc of the series as well.
Yeah, I
Karen?
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that never start a fight, but always finish one. I mean, that's a fairly trite statement. It's been used over and over again, but I do think that John, it's in his character to have that kind of saying in his mind all the time.
And I think he said that to his father. We've heard
Right.
him talk about that before.
Yep.
Um, and I do like that it's revealed kind of. I mean, I don't know whether we've heard it before, but that they name their son after his father as well. David, they name him David, right? And his
Right.
father's name was David, he says in this episode. I liked the speech. It was sad as well because, we know that that's what's going to happen to him, whether that's subverted or whatever. We don't know that as of yet, but he does want to impart. And it's like one of those like P.S. I love you kind of things where the person leaves messages for their
Yeah.
unborn child or growing child or whatever. I would like to think that this is the start of a tradition that he has where he leaves messages for his son. So, yeah, it was sad, but also, understandable.
Yeah. I did like the end when she came and said, I think you should get some rest.
Yeah,
And he says, have I told you I love you today? And she says, you have, but you are welcome to do it anytime.
yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah.
cute.
I think that is all the notes I have.
Okay. Can
Karen,
I?
anything else I need to bring up?
Yeah, because I put my finger up. I raised my hand, sir.
Yes.
I also thought that the scene where earlier in the episode where John is talking to his new advisory panel there,
Yeah.
and Halloran says, well, there's this conflict and it's, on this sex colony and whatever. He sees that things have kind of gotten back to a stable place.
Yeah.
So I thought that scene was kind of cute and I like that they included it.
Yeah. And I like how they said that, number one is working out really well. Hmm.
I'm
I'm glad you
sorry.
brought up that point. I'm curious as to why when Franklin was doing the Docking Bay walk, why number one didn't see him off.
Yeah, I think they wanted, and I'm guessing, I think this is a creative choice to have him just go off by himself. But yeah, I think they've established right that we don't, I don't know what we're going to do. But yeah, I think that would have been nice to see because in my mind, they do see each other as much as they can.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep,
All right. How about you? Anything, Lou?
that was it.
All right. One episode left. Kind of
It
hard to believe
seems
when
it
we
Hmm.
started
seems
this,
like
right?
it hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. So we're going to do Sleeping in Light next week. The following week, we're going to do the animated movie to kind of see. And then
Kind of can't.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's
I
been
think,
quite a
yeah.
while.
Lou, what are you thinking?
parting is such sweet sorrows.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice. I'll say 8, finishing a fight.
Nice. I think I'm going to be like Lou, closer to Lou, 8.5. Birthday earns.
Sure.
Hmm.
I don't. I feel like I should raise it, but my gut is telling me
No,
8.
no.
An 8's high.
The other thing, Karen, you're really good at this. Joe did 3 B5 short stories for Amazing
Hmm,
Story magazine.
okay.
They did a Londo, a Jakar, and one setting in B5.
Okay.
So if you end up finding those, send the link to us so we can. I remember reading them years ago and they were pretty good.
Okay.
All right, we did get feedback.
We did.
Uh,
One.
I sent you a late one yesterday. I sent you Nathan's and then Texas. I sent him late last night saying, hey, Texas, if you sent this, I missed it. And a few minutes later, he sent it. So let me
Okay,
know if you
hold
see
on.
it.
I have the Texas one.
Okay.
I'm sure
So,
you sent me the other one. I just don't see it.
okay.
I search
All right.
under JKL.
All right. Let
Oh,
me forward it to you real quick. And here we go.
And
There.
when we go.
So why don't you read Texas while we wait for that one to come?
Sure. I have Nathan's. Hold on a minute.
Objects at rest from Nathan.
Yeah, I just got it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Hey
yes, we have
guys.
Nathan and we have Texas.
Hey guys, send me the Texas one.
Okay.
You sent me the Nathan one again.
Okay.
Oh boy, this episode. The plot with Lanier is atrocious and is hated more than Byron's. And for a reason. In later interviews, JMS has said that difficulties in production that changed his plans made the story better. Sadly, it didn't apply to this one. That made it terrible. It's the execution. First thing that annoys me is reusing a story with a leak in a venting system of a Minbari ship. The second is that an accident is plot convenient. I would have liked more major and minor incidents that broke this and that system or stopped a ship or two to join the fleet. Third and main thing is it's just too direct, a thing JMS is prone to, and too extreme. And while somewhat in line with previous things Lanier has done and said this season, the escalation is not in line with his character overall. Less egregious than Daenerys in Game of Thrones, but the same type of a jump in logic. You need to show a character being unstable before it becomes a problem. It was done well with Garibaldi. I've thought about what would make it better for me, and I would be much more okay with an execution if the second draft was Sheridan being unconscious and Lanier doing the same things but then saving him, and then having a conversation with Delenn, telling her off for ignoring his words instead of confronting them, and then describing how he behaved to her horror, her trying to placate him like she always does, and then saying something like he thought that his feelings for her made him better. Turns out they also bring out the worst in him, so he goes away to save his character and doesn't want any relationship with her. Yeah, good point. Um, like we said earlier, we also think it's too severe for him. Um, Same results, same inciting actions, but for me, more in character with him, with some personal growth and being able to confront an object of affection completely instead of just when they are about to die and then not having a confrontation. With regards, Nathan. Great points, all.
Absolutely.
And same
Yes.
with you, Texas. So we come to the final recorded episode of the series. The only episode after this was actually recorded for the previous season, and they thought they were being canceled. If I were to go back to when you were starting out and told you how these characters wound up, you'd have thought I was kidding. That is right, Texas. We certainly would have. Sinclair becomes Valen. Jakar becomes a messianic figure. Londo and Veer both become emperor of this entire republic. Garibaldi becomes a multi-billionaire and head of a large pharmaceutical company, and Lanier ... Well, let's address that elephant in the room. Lanier finally betrays the Rangers. I know Bill Mummy wasn't very pleased with it and somehow described it as outright character assassination. To me, however, I take the view that if he's so unable to let go of his feelings for Delenn, he's capable of just about anything. She's been married for nearly a year at this point. She was engaged for almost a year before that, and her feelings have been quite clear for some time before that. My take is no more that she'd be taking advantage of any other ranger. She is Entelza, and as such, when she tells a ranger, any ranger, including Lanier, to do something, they are obligated to do it, and they are trained to give their all in performing their tasks. This was part of Captain Montoya's counsel to his trainees a while back. The New Alliance headquarters on Minbar are open. There's a big celebration as they arrive and a surprise visit from Emperor Malari. He's far more open and friendly now than he was back on Centauri Prime, but it seems like there's something he wants to do or say but isn't able to. And Delenn senses something but isn't able to figure out what exactly. Just as well, if she'd realized what that was, the Drakh would probably have had the cruiser in orbit fire on the residents. It would have started another war with the Centauri, but they would most likely just leave the Centauri to their fate and find some other place to make their plans. But their long-term plans are still in effect, and one part of it includes getting a keeper on Sheridan and Delenn's child. For what purpose? Well, again, these and other questions are answered in the Centauri trilogy. That's on my list now.
Thank you.
Many shows do something like this, but in most cases, it's more like implying what the characters will be doing once they go their separate ways. This is more like the second to last scene of the finale of Avatar: The Last Airbender when, spoiler, Zuko comes down to his father's cell and demands, "Where is my mother?" Anyway, this story is coming to an end, which leads to the beginning of the next great story. See you in Sleeping in Light. This is the Texas Shock. Oh, look at that. The sun's coming up. So,
Uh, mm.
Lou, what do we got in the YouTube channel?
Well, Texas and Nathan are making their presence felt online as they continue to respond to the videos on YouTube. So Texas says, regarding Toulouse's response to me, and this is for episode 20, Objects in Motion. If you recall, they put her in an isolated cell that is run by automation, so there are no human guards close enough for her to control them. So she can't use her hands and she can't use her telepathy, and her telekinesis isn't even shown until Garibaldi comes to visit her. So presumably they weren't aware of that. So the real question is why did they restrain her? It's why did she go along with it? And that's the question she answered here. Uh, yeah. I still don't see what a straitjacket has to do with her being able to use her telepathy or telekinesis, but you make good points there. Nathan says JMS wasn't making characters treat Lita badly because he was setting up a telepath war. Telepath war is about everyone, including Lita versus Psychor. Lita's treatment is to show how higher-ups dismiss veterans after they are used for the war, and how the B5 crew still has the same prejudice the telepaths see from others. It's just not as pronounced, but still leads to disastrous consequences, be it in their relation to Lita or the treatment of the telepath colony. Yep, that's pretty much in line with what we've been discussing. So thanks for that. Star Wars is not fine science fiction; it is science fantasy. Yep, totally agree. But fortunately, uh, for a lot of people, Star Wars is what they think of when they think of science fiction. So
Yes.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, Then Joel Miller says, "So now you like the show again. You might even like the series finale." I don't ever remember any of us saying we didn't like the show. We just didn't like certain storylines. So that's where I rest on that, and I assume that you and Karen as well, Jesse.
I've loved the show and I talked about all its flaws, and I'll talk a little bit more of this once we wrap things up, but it's been a
Hmm.
joy rewatching this and having you guys see it with fresh eyes.
yeah, I
Right.
enjoyed it. I don't have any beef with the series overall. I think it's really good. Here's the deal, though. We're analyzing the show.
Yeah.
So we're going to see good things and bad things because we're watching it with the intent of discussing it, where other people are just watching it for fun. And that's
Yeah.
the one downside of podcasting about a show because we
Yes.
have to see everything and discuss everything to death. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Joel, I understand you see all of the bad things that we talk about, but you have to know that we've enjoyed this. I just want to let you know that we've enjoyed the show very much, and we're both, Lou and I, both happy that we watched it and enjoyed it very much. So, anyway,
Yeah. What I didn't bring up is if you notice when John is talking, they show every character except Lita.
yeah.
This is why they show Veer, and Veer did not do much this season,
No,
So
very little.
he walked better in this episode.
And, I mean, they even showed Talon
yeah,
on the thought, but they don't show Lita.
that it
Well,
like how we treat
Chikars, they
veterans.
both left. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, they showed Jakar as he's talking about it. They showed him.
Hmm. Because they could have put her in that same
Yeah,
shot where she's standing next to Jakar, right?
yeah. It is just, there's no answer.
even the creator doesn't give her the proper respect.
Right?
Now she like I've got her book. I got the latest version. In the book she talks about how much she adores Joe and how he's been good for her career. There is a scene next week where it comes up again. And
Mm,
when that happens, we'll bring it up again.
okay.
Okay.
Lou?
Well, for now, you can go to Lou's Reviews, where you find our flagship podcast, Babylon 5 podcast. Take this opportunity to make viewers aware that we have started up a new YouTube channel, uh, which is JKL Media Reviews. And over there, you'll find where we're doing our newest endeavor, which is reviewing season 2 of Severance. Hopefully, some of you Babylon 5 fans will migrate over there and join us in what is probably the most water cooler show on TV in the last 10, 15 years, I guess, since Lost, maybe. And yeah, otherwise, on my Lou's Reviews channel, there still will be the writers' interviews, the Stephen King podcast, and you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lou W. Sitzma.
All right, Karen.
Yep. Now we're everywhere as JKL Media Reviews, and that includes email. So you can check us out there. I'm enjoying kind of going through our channel, and hopefully Lou thinks it's okay if I update the thumbnails on some of
Oh
them.
yeah, for sure. Just had
Well,
okay.
I'm going to go through, I'm going to do some new artwork for those. So look
Sure.
forward to that if that's something you care about. But please subscribe to JKL Media Reviews on YouTube and you'll see anything new that we do moving forward there. And yeah, Severance, we're really enjoying that. So keep your eye out for that. And I am at Elveria on social media, and my blog is alleystuff.com.
I am at Jesse Jackson, DFW, on Twitter, AKX, and Jesse Jackson on Facebook. Would love to hear what you think. We are in the process of kind of moving everything over. And so hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'll have all the new things down pat. But right now, I'm still trying to catch up. Check us out. Give us a follow. Like us on iTunes or on Spotify. And tell you what, let's get back and wrap up the original series next week. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
All right. For now, everyone, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And scene.